Are.
All right, guys. So today, welcome to the call. Today is mock sales day. And because we are so awesome, we thoroughly thought this through and think that the best way to go about critiquing a sales situation would be having two of you do it together. And then having the critique of us and everybody else in there instead of you guys selling one of us or vice versa, so that there's no influence from how we go about the sales, so we could see exactly what's going on in your world. Does that make sense? Yeah? All right, cool. So I would say, since Tara's on the phone, that's going to be awesome. We'll get her right out of her comfort zone, and we'll have her sell Stacy on her product. Does that sound good, Tara?
Yeah, okay.
This was so not on the list of what was going on this week.
Totally was.
Surprise!
So, Camille, do you have anything that you want to preamp with before she starts?
Well, obviously it's going to be difficult for you to go through a presentation with Stacy. So let's go up to the point where you would do the presentation, which is the most, well, it's all critical, but it's the most important part of the whole process anyway. So don't worry about having to go through the actual presentation that you develop, but take her all the way through from the beginning to that point.
Okay.
And you want me just to be me? Like real life me?
Yes, please do that. Be real life you.
Okay, I won't be hard then.
Okay, so how are you doing, Miss Stacy?
I'm great. I'm happy to see you.
Good too. I was planning on talking to you today anyway.
I know. Perfect.
So kind of catch me up. What have you been doing the last 3 months? I think that's probably the last time I talked to you.
I know, no kidding. Are we going to ignore anybody else that's on this call? Or where'd you go to?
Yeah, so hold on. You're going to treat her like she's a potential client. Not Stacy as Stacy. Oh, hey, how are you? I missed you. No, Stacy is somebody that you've scheduled as a consult, and you're going to take her through the actual consult process.
Okay.
All right.
I could still go with your last question, though. I've actually just been struggling with this weight thing. I get serious with my training, and then my kids get in the way. They just frustrate me sometimes, and then I get off on my nutrition, off on my training, and so it's just frustrating. I'm just frustrated.
Are you currently working with a coach or not?
I have a trainer that I work with, but not on nutrition. I need somebody in my house all the time.
Do you do do you do macros, or what do you do for your nutrition?
Well, kind of. Not really.
Okay.
I have a base, I had a point where I was focusing on that. And then, so I have base meals that I just know what the macros are. But if I'm off, then it kind of just doesn't matter. It can switch in an instant. And I'm forget this.
So how does that make you feel then? Tell me. When you're consistent, obviously it makes you feel good. But when you're...
Yeah, well, in those moments when I mess up, I'm what triggered that? Why can't I get control of those moments? But when I'm on, then it's I have to remind myself that, yeah, you can do this.
When it derails you, how long do you stay derailed?
Oh, just long enough to binge. What? Completely derail it for the day at least. But then it's over. It's oh, okay, then I go to bed. It's normally in the evening.
Okay. In your training, how many days a week do you train?
At least 5.
Okay. And then tell me about your mindset practices. Do you think you have a dynamic, adaptable mindset, or are you kind of stuck
I think it's adaptable, but I think it's dynamic, but then, you hit these walls where you're like, oh, well, maybe I'm not as dynamic as I think I am, or maybe I'm lost in areas, maybe I don't understand it as completely as I should.
Yep. So do you schedule in and are you committed like a doctor's appointment to your training and to your nutrition? Or do you feel like you know what I mean? Are those big rocks in your schedule? Or do you feel like you need more accountability getting the training and the nutrition done and the mindset training done?
I would say the training is a big rock. The other two are, well, my mindset, yeah, no.
Okay.
I'd probably switch on that sometime. Not as consistent. Nutrition, yeah, I'm good until the evening.
Okay.
When my kids are home. That's so bad.
I'm gonna have a customer in here. I can hear him outside.
Okay.
So kind of what I'm hearing is you need some accountability. You kind of need a plan or a system that you can just implement and have somebody to hold you accountable. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, somebody that I feel like somebody I'm accountable to that knows that I'm there. Yeah, pretty much.
Because I just think like an outside set of eyes is very helpful, even to my own self and my own training and my own nutrition, like having an outside set of eyes and somebody that I quote unquote have to answer to, because it's just a helpful tool to have that accountability and that coach there. Now I'm kind of flustered. I don't know where to go from here because I can hear him out there. So I have a program that I call 365 Strong, Mind, Body, and Soul. And in that program, we're going to work on the nutrition. We're going to work on the movement. We're going to work on the mindset, because I think the mindset is a huge component. And so when I like to work with people, we want to knock down those roadblocks. And so I'm there with the system. I got to go here. Hang on. Hey, how are you today?
Okay. She's got to go. Helgi's got to go in a few minutes. What I think, Gary, we could do is let's let Stacy, well, should Helgi talk to Stacy, or should we have Stacy do Helgi, and then we can critique everybody at the end?
Well, Helgi, you got to run now.
He's got to run soon, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm expecting a phone call.
Helgi, you go, no worries. I think that a thing we could do is we can critique exactly what happened.
Okay.
There, and then we could have a conversation with Stacy, and then we can take it from there. Because if the phone rings and Helgi has got to pick it up, then it just interrupts it. So don't even sweat that.
Okay, I'm gonna just mute Tara.
I'll do it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. First, before we do, Helgi and Stacy, what are your thoughts? What are your critiques on how that probing went?
I would say, given the situation, you probably prep yourself a little bit more before you meet with somebody, So just being on the spot, may have not been as thorough as she normally would have been.
Yeah, we did put you all on the spot, true.
Which is very true, right? But when you're out and you see someone at Whole Foods and you have a conversation with that individual, you should still be able to be on this. It shouldn't be so. You should always be prepared for that situation, right? That preparation is part of your daily activity, right? You're always selling someone on something every second of every single day. So there's always that part where if they had to jump into that part right there where they're like, oh my God, I'm not prepared for this, right? Then, that could have been 5 different opportunities wasted, right? So I agree with you in saying that she probably wasn't prepared, and none of anybody was, and Jeff's not either. But in 5 seconds, we'll have Jeff do it, right? But that you should always have. Did he really just hang up the phone like that? We should, and this is just my opinion, right? You should always have some type of underlying purpose for what you're saying, what you're doing, why you're doing this stuff, right? So it's like automatic, right? It's not a sales thing, it's a life thing, right?
Don't you just think though, if you're good at the building rapport, that rapport part, it just comes so naturally that having practicing it feels really unnatural.
Well, the building rapport part wasn't the issue. It was the probing part and the discovery part, right?
Yeah.
Rapport is a natural thing, but you still need to be able to build rapport, especially when it's somebody that you don't know. You don't want to just walk in and say, hey, how are you, and get completely started. You do need to spend some time to get to have them relax and talk about the weather, or do you have kids or whatever, just to ease into it, right? And that maybe comes naturally, maybe doesn't, but it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, but to Gary's point, you should always, and this is why we say practice, 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 practice. You have to practice these probing questions because you want to be able to, at any moment with any person, be able to be a good conversationalist. And that's what it helps you do. Asking questions, listening, responding with follow-up questions just makes you a more interesting person, and people want to talk to you. And it sells. It helps you to get the sale, right? So exactly to Gary's point, yes, you were caught off guard. You didn't know you were doing this. However, you should at any point be able to talk to any person and bring up the right types of questions in the right manner. What do you feel like specifically Tara could have done better? Anybody?
And Tara, back on the phone.
Yeah, Tara,
Not
we
that you did anything wrong, Tara, right? Like we're critiquing it. No, I can't hear you. You're on mute. I'll unmute you.
Okay. I don't know why I keep going to group chat when you do that.
It's a control thing, Camilla.
It's nice.
Go ahead, Tara. Sorry.
No, I said I'm okay with the critiquing. Yeah.
So what do you think? How do you feel that went?
Oh, I think I really struggle with open-ended questions, or just getting down to people's emotions. And I think that's just a story because my whole life has been keep everything inside. So and don't open up to people. And so I think that I really struggle with open-ended questions. I've been trying to practice with my kids and my current clients, just every day before they come in, trying to ask them a couple probing questions, about what's going on in their life, because it really makes me uncomfortable to be nosing into these people's lives or whatever. So I know I can get better at the open-ended questions. I think I struggle there with the open-ended questions, I guess. And
let's talk about that real quick.
Okay.
Do you know when you're in a conversation with somebody, do you know who the most important person is in that conversation?
That person.
And do you know what that person wants to talk about more than anything else? Themselves. Everybody's favorite word is their name, is me. They want to talk about themselves, and believe it or not, they want to pour to you. And you're giving them that opportunity. It's everybody's favorite thing to do, right? So all you're doing is giving them the opportunity to speak, which is what they really want to do in the first place.
Okay.
But I would ask you, in terms of crafting that open-ended question, how are you doing it?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Do you mean?
So when you're asking the question, how are you formulating the question?
Well, like I want to know about what their training is like been currently. I have to go again. I'm in the customer. I'm sorry.
No worries.
All right. So one of the things that Tara did a lot of when she was questioning you, Stacy, was a lot of hows and a lot of do's. And you were very generous. You gave her more information, but a lot of the questions could have been answered in a single word or just like 2 words, right? And we talked about being very careful with how. How's a tricky one. You have to be careful how you continue the sentence when you start with how. Do is non and open-ended. Do you do macros? Yes. No. I don't even know what a macro is, right? So you have to be very careful what, why, when, sometimes how the open-ended question is developed. Now, the other thing that she was doing, she would start off with an open-ended question, but then she would continue the question on with a lead, right? So tell me about your mindset. Do you have a adaptable or dynamic mindset, right? So instead of just tell me about your mindset, she led you on into an answer. And you don't want to do that. Don't do any leading when you're asking the question. Stop. Tell me about your mindset. Boom. And that's the best way to get them speaking about the open-ended question, with the open-ended question. Okay, anything to add?
Hang on one second. I'm just going to mute her really quickly. One thing that, and I think maybe just because it got cut off, is also when she did it at the end where she was able to she used the empathy of she needs to know, or the person selling that other person or talking to that other person needs to know that they kind of understand where they're coming from. I get that. I've been there. I understand how this feels. And one thing that I would have done, and probably she would have done too if she had the time, is saying with the open-ended question of what would that look like to you? Like, how would that make you feel if you were to lose the weight? And tell me, like, precisely what does that look like? And when I do the what does the look like question, they're able to actually feel what that looks like, or whatever the area of that I'm selling is. They're able to kind of relate even more to the benefit or outcome of your program or whatever it is that you have that you are introducing them to. Does that make sense? So they're already on, and then always making the offer. That's that's a critique that I would have, and I think that maybe she just got cut off at the end there. But that's a big thing that works a lot of the time. And I could definitely say in almost every single business that I've ever had to sell anything in.
Okay. How about Stacy and Stacy sells Jeff?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay. So Jeff, you came on. We're doing some role playing on the sales process. So Stacy is now going to sell you.
On tagging on Facebook, why it's important. No. So what am I selling them on? Like, which one? Which way should I go with?
Correct me.
Sell your product. Sell your mindset product.
Okay. Hey, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. Oh crap. Redo. Hold on. I gotta focus a second. Because I feel like I could walk up to him and have a conversation, but okay, start over. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Still? Great. What's been new with you lately?
Kids have been sick.
No way. Are you still able to work? You work from home?
No, I don't. I had to call out of work yesterday. It was my turn. It was my wife's turn last week.
They've been sick last week too?
My daughter's been sick for 2 weeks straight.
Oh, shoot. What's the matter with him? Her?
Everything. Stomach, strep throats, fever, you name it.
Holy cow. How are you guys dealing with that?
It's not fun.
No? I feel like that like completely derails you when your kids get sick. Like
It does me. It
everything.
definitely does me.
I'm sorry?
It definitely derails me.
Yeah? Like how?
Just scheduling wise, and when my kids get sick, my wife turns into a clean freak. So we have to constantly clean everything over and over and over again.
Like Lysol and everything. So how's business going for you though? Besides, hopefully, besides the 6 kids.
Fine.
Which is, okay, tell me about your exact, like what you do all the time, soccer, right? And then break down exactly what you do during the day. Quickly.
I teach classes. I coach soccer. I coach a college team, and I coach a youth team, and I coach camps and clinics. So it's I do a lot of crazy stuff, and then I'm in charge of the fitness center at the college.
Okay, pause, time out. I don't feel like I'm going anywhere with this because I already know he's doing the mindset program.
I want you to.
But I want to do yours.
We want you to pretend he's a potential client. He's Jeff, yes, but treat him like he's a client that's coming to you for your services, not a soccer coach at a college. Not that. He is a so.
I'm looking for a coach.
You're looking for a fitness mindset coach. All right. You live in where do you live? Nebraska, Texas.
Yeah.
No, you live in Nebraska. You heard about Stacy on Facebook. She called you up. She scheduled this consult, and she's going through a role play. All right, Stacy. So he's not Jeff Patton from the Northeast that is a soccer recruit coach extraordinaire. No, he's a potential client that's going to come see you for your services, what you advertised for.
Okay.
Okay.
Start all over. We're in a session. We're in a consult then. All right. Here you go, Jeff. Hey, Jeff. How are you?
Good.
So we were talking the other day briefly, and I kind of said I wanted to get on a call with you about some programs that I'm running that could completely change your life. Okay. But I want to know like where you're at in your life right now. And if there was one thing, like I had a magic wand and I could change one thing, what it would be.
I think it would have to be time. My time.
As in, explain that.
Just
time.
feel like you're running around all the time. That's kind of how I feel, and the important things I don't get done, and so it's kind of a time thing for me. That's kind of one of my major concerns of taking on something new.
Okay, so you feel that if you could create more time or manage your time better?
Well, I mean, if I could create more time, I think I would be an amazing.
Would that be cool?
And no, I guess it's just managing my time.
Okay. And while we're on the phone here, I'm just going to take some notes because I want to make sure that I understand everywhere and everything that you need, so that I can kind of explain to you how the program will be able to help you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
On a day-to-day basis, are you doing any time management things? You like sit down and you have any idea what you're going to do with your day when you wake up in the morning?
I mean, I have it in my head.
Okay, but not like down on paper or anything?
Occasionally, if I know I have a lot of things that I have to do.
Okay. So if you could be more able to manage your time, how would that affect your life? Or where would that affect your life?
I guess I'd get more done.
Okay. What would getting more done allow you to do?
Well, I guess I think I would have more of an opportunity to do the things that I love to do. For instance, like work out, go hiking, you know, spend more time with the family, that kind of thing.
Okay. So those are all important to you that you love to do, and creating more time would allow that.
Yes.
Okay. I just got lost again. So is there anything else? Like if you could change anything else? Or that's the biggest?
I mean, I think along with that, I want to get more fit. So I just can't find the motivation to kind of, that next step.
Okay. So I'm going to make sure that I hear this right for you, Jeff, okay? If there was a program that could allow you more time management, that would give you more time to spend with your family and your friends and doing the stuff you love, along with accountability, then you feel like that would help you get where you want to go.
I mean, yeah, I believe so.
Okay, perfect. So really what you've told me is just symptoms of a more bigger problem. Can I stop now? I'm watching Camellia laugh at me now. You're on mute. They're not letting me stop. Okay, so these are just symptoms of a much bigger problem that really basically boil down to like not having the proper systems in place, not having the right accountability, and just not really having a plan of what it's going to take to get you to where you want to go. So I have that, and I just want to go over it. I want to show you how it can happen, and if you have any questions at the end, we can talk about it. But I think this is a perfect program for you. And this is where I go into it all, so you can unmute.
Okay, what are your thoughts, Stacy?
So, I mean, it didn't flow like as well. I feel like I said how a lot, and that you said, is that or isn't that an open-ended? Yeah, they have to go into detail. That's an open-ended question.
Well, it depends on how you use it. So how are you doing today? Okay, great, fine. No, that's not. But how does that make you feel? Absolutely.
Okay, or how would that affect your life, or how would that change it? Okay. I got to a point where I was just like, I should have just rolled in to it, where I repeated myself. But I felt like I had enough information that I knew what it was that he was looking for, that I could go into the program.
I would be curious to know if Jeff would have actually bought, because I don't feel like there was a lot of you got one thing out of him, and that was time management, right? There could have been a lot more that got out. I think the thing that I've seen just from the two of you guys is that there's just not a lot of practice going on, right? You have to know the questions that you want to ask and keep them broad at the start. So you went very specific very quickly, and so didn't get a chance to even dive into some of the other issues that he might be having. So we want to keep the questions broad, very open-ended, and let him speak. All right? You went very fast. Before you started over, you had a great flow going, even though it was really fast. And you talked about, like, how does that derail your life? Mm-hmm. You said that. And then you totally switched, but that was perfect, right? I don't even remember what he said afterwards, but how does that shift in schedule derail your life? And that ties all back to no knowledge, no system, no accountability. So part of it is practice, know your questions. Second is listen to the answers, slow down and listen to the answers and see what he's telling you, and follow up with what those are. All right, but if you have your 4 or 5 key questions that you can always go back to, you will always gain information.
Okay.
There was another really good question you asked, which was, where or how would that affect your life? That was beautiful. That was really beautiful.
And I think that's not to jump in, but like that one's a tough one for people to answer on the first try. So that's kind of a question that I always used to follow up. That would be like my probing question, because they'd kind of square around it and you could see them being uncomfortable. And then you kind of go into more detail into that question.
What do you think, Stacy?
Well, I mean, you mean like after you ask it, like you ask it and then go into more detail, or?
Well, you could.
They don't understand where you're going with it.
You asking me or you asking Jeff?
Jeff.
Oh.
Well, like when you asked me that, I had 1,000 things going through my head, and at first I didn't want to answer it, so I gave you a little piece, and then from there, if you, for instance, when you said that, I paused. I don't even remember if I paused or like if I looked uncomfortable. That was kind of what I was trying to get at, is like not coming straight forward with what I was trying to say. So, and then you see what the response is. If they come out and they're rambling off, then it makes it much easier. But if it's like a really short answer, that's when it gets kind of tricky. If you have to ask another question that kind of flows in with that question.
Yeah. To get them to talk more, like anything else? Would anything else be?
Because I don't think we got to the important part of where I was going. Like, why do I need you? I didn't feel that you were going to go into your program, but we didn't make that connection yet of why I really sit on the phone to hear that.
Okay.
And there's a big part that both of you guys missed, and that was the commitment piece, right? Neither one of you asked, how committed are you to changing your life or achieving these goals or achieving these intentions? And remember, we're got to think about what the objections might be at the end, and one of those is time. I don't have the time to do it, and that all ties back to making sure you have that commitment.
So I'm still at where I have the sheet of paper in front of me with my questions.
Beautiful.
Because to make sure that I don't. So I would miss that one. So when they give a committed, they're like, how committed are you? And they'll be like, oh, like an 8. I'm like, okay, what would make you, what has you at an 8? What would take you to a 10? And, so then they'll be like, I don't really want to change what I'm eating yet. And so that means they have 2 other pieces. I mean, is that a good follow-up question?
It is. I'm struggling because I don't know anybody that would give that answer to, why would you not want to be an 8? Because I don't want to change what I'm eating.
No, I've had that.
And my response, if they gave me that answer, would be like, well, okay, well, then I can't help you, because you're going to have to change what you're eating in order to make changes in your life. So we're not ready to start this program with you yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, would it be like change what they're eating? They're afraid you're going to go and be like, you have to eat this and only this, instead of being like, okay, you don't do well with making huge changes. That's okay. We're going to start with small changes. You're still helping them, but their fear and commitment is that you're going to completely overhaul everything I'm doing.
Go ahead, Gary. You're just chomping over there.
Nope. So I have way more to say about the mock between the two of you, but in regard to what you just said, I had this very same conversation type deal with someone yesterday. And so what you just, not what you just did, right? But like something like that, maybe I'm not judging or anything, but like when we do that, when an individual does something like that, that individual is trying to read the mind of the other individual. What you just said was something along the lines of, if I do this, that person's going to say this. You do not know that. right? Like you think that that person's going to think this specific way, but you don't know that they're thinking that way.
Right. Which wouldn't that be why you would ask further into it? But like, why are you an 8?
Which is why you would ask probing questions. Precisely. So,
Okay.
but that's what I'm saying is like you ask the questions so you've already said to yourself, when I ask this question, this individual is going to say that thing, right? About that specific eating thing. I can't even remember exactly what it was because it brought me right back to where I was yesterday. And I don't mean to not be exactly where you are right now, but this person thought they thought they knew what I was thinking, right? And they had no idea. They were completely in left field from the way that I was thinking about that in particular thing. And I was like, the issue here is you think you could read my mind and you can't. That's why you have to have that, let the other person talk. And we need to listen and ask the question and let that person answer that single question. Don't think that that person is already, bless you, going to say no or say all of these things, whatever. Like, we don't even know. Camellia says it the best way that I've ever heard it say is like, give them the opportunity. Like, you have to, don't make the choice for that person. And I'm finding this more and more, and just in my life, people are making choices for me on their end. Like before they can even sell me on whatever it is they're selling me on. And we do that all the time. Jeff, do you understand that? You look like you don't understand it. Do you get that? Am I making sense? Stace, am I making sense about that? Or am I just off the rail on something that happened to me?
Like, I would take it from, because if they said, if their response was, I'm an 8 because I don't want to change my nutrition, I would be like, well, what do you mean by that? Instead of initially saying, well, then we can't. If you're not willing to change your nutrition, then I can't work with you. You know, it's like, well, what do you mean? That could mean that I don't want to drink. Their idea of nutrition.
You could continue probing. The what do you mean is a good probing continuation.
Yeah, so just keep going.
But let's remember, the question was about commitment, right? And so if they're not committed to making changes to their life to get better, then they're not ready to work with you. So all I was saying at that point was if you can't get them to a 9 or a 10 or they're fighting you on that, the takeaway is the best thing at that point. Take it away, and guess what? They're going to come running right back.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Okay, Gary, you said you had a lot more about the...
Well, one big thing with when you were talking to Jeff, and Camellia touched on all of it, but in my opinion, like you talked a little too much, right? There was just the question, and sometimes, and a lot of people don't agree with me, but sometimes it's okay for you to be uncomfortable and let Jeff think and let Jeff talk, right? Ask the question, and especially that how would your life, I don't remember the question exactly, Jeff, what was it? Like, how would your life change? When he felt uncomfortable. Now, 10 times out of 10 times, I think that when that question is asked, I think it's an incredible question, and I ask it all the time, but I think 10 out of 10 times, the first time is not the right answer that they give you. And I think that question in a creative way is extremely effective if you creatively ask them that question 10 more times right after that.
I also think that there's a rapport that needs to be built a little bit more before you hop into that question, unless you feel really comfortable that you have a good connection with that person already. Because that's one of those questions that you're either going to get somebody to spill or shut down.
True, but you will know that when you ask the question, and if you're continuing to ask the question, you'll break down that wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody else have any comments?
I have going on 2 questions. I know this is the role play one, but
yeah.
So I asked somebody, I see getting somebody on the phone, like my question is, we're here for a reason today. You know, you may feel a little uncomfortable. You know how Carrie does that. You may feel a little uncomfortable. Like, but I need to know, why are we here today? Well, if you've invited somebody on to say, I think I have a program I want to tell you about, and they have no clue about it, well, what's another lead-in question or another way to phrase that when they have no clue?
Can I just say one thing? They have no clue that they're getting on so they think that they're getting on a call with you so that so that you could talk to them about air. Like, they have no idea why they're on the call with you. They're like, I have my new friend Stacy now. I'm gonna be on the call. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being
No, I get it. I mean, it would go something like, hey, I have this program. It's like really helping people change their lives. Can we get on a call and tell you about it?
So they know about that. There's something that you're going to talk about on that call.
I mean, yeah, could change their lives, but what part of it? Yes, let's say yes. They know that much.
Okay. So what would you say at the what do you say at the beginning of those calls?
I have to go back to them now. I actually would just, build a little bit of rapport and after they start talking, I would.
How would you do that
question.
How would you do that?
Just like small talking, figure out what they've been doing in their life and what's different. And like the lady I talked to last week, she had started this program, like a nutrition program that I knew of. And so I kind of started getting the background on that. How's it working? And that just blew her up on everything that she'd done in the past. And so I just listened to that. I'm like, okay, taking notes. And then getting into, I just skipped and like, okay, you've told me all this. What if I could change one thing? There's one thing you would want to have just, boom, changed. What would it be? So it's not, she opened up, but I didn't directly ask the question. Like, she's kind of started crying, and I think she's kind of emotional. Crying and telling everything. So I got a lot of information, but it wasn't that question. So I can skip it.
So did she buy? Sorry. That was awesome. Exactly did that 3 seconds right after she said, go ahead.
She did. Until she went and talked to her husband, and she was like, at first she's like, oh, that's a lot, but I want to do it. And then she went and talked to her husband, and it didn't come back, and she wanted the one-on-one. So then I tried, it's like, you know what, maybe we need to just start with the group stuff. And she hasn't responded to me at all.
All right, so 2 things. We talked last week about the pre-qualification. Is there anybody else that needs to be involved in the decision-making process? A spouse, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife is always a huge one. Remember, she's going to go back and talk to him emotionally. He's not going to see everything that you showed her and explained to her. No value there. He's going to look at $1,000. Are you crazy? We can't do that. I don't care how good it makes you feel, right? It's just feelings, right? They won't get it. So you have to. So you've got to make sure that you've got all the appropriate people on the conversation. If you have a conversation and at the end they're like, oh, I do need to talk to my husband, say, well, I've done this many times. Well, why don't we get your husband on the phone right now? We can talk to him together. Okay, so you have to have a way where you can talk to both of the decision makers at the same time. So that's a huge pre-qual thing. But as far as should I ask that question or not, it's how the flow goes. But, the question about, what intentions or objectives do you have for your life is always a good question to go back to. What other intentions or objectives do you have for your life? Right? What else is important to you that you want to achieve in your life? You can always go back to those questions with a what else type thing. Just circle back around.
Okay.
Right? So the questions, no, they're not set in stone, but they're important, obviously. And you want to always make sure that you're asking them in a way that you get the information that you need to build the value.
Right. Well, that one there, like what intention and objectives, like to me sounds completely different same question, just completely different than, why are we here today? Well, I don't know. You asked me to get on this call because you said you could help me. But that sounds completely different. So that's perfect. That's what I need. Got it. Question answered.
So out of all of this sales stuff and things that we're doing, right? What matters most? That's a question. What?
Practicing.
No. Your mindset matters most.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So literally, if you don't have that foundation of the mindset going into the sale of anything, right? If you're practicing it, you're fucking, oh my God, I suck, I'm terrible, all this stuff. Also make sure that you're working on the foundation of it all, right? Because when you have the foundation of it all and you meet someone at the grocery store and you've already done your practicing and you know that you're good at it and you know that this, because that's mindset, right? Is knowing that you're good at it. And once you've practiced and you have all of that down, selling is not an uncomfortable, crazy, this is not the age of the car sales, the used car salesman, right? Like that time is, that period is over, right? Everybody all the time is selling you on something. Always. All the time. Camelia and I right now are selling you on how to be better salespeople, right? Every time you surf Facebook, people are selling you on something all of the time, right? They're building rapport with you. They're asking you questions. They're putting up these motivational things, whatever it is, right? People are selling to you all the time. So you're getting your head in the game and getting your head straight and your mindset right and having those foundations is the foundation of all of that, right? And then carrying on with the practices. And when I say getting your mind right and the getting your foundations, I ask you and also challenge you, how many of you have watched the Change Makers, all of them, more than once or twice? Besides me, right? But if you did, right, and you did the work to make it work, guess what? It will work, right? But you have to do the work to make it work.
I would love to know what the mental block is with the process. And I just want to go around the room. Jeff, you took off your speaker. What's the mental block?
I don't have one in this aspect of it. Like, if I sit in front of somebody who I know I can help, this is my game. I've done I was so good at closing. When I was in high school, I worked as a photographer, and I was phenomenal at. They used to send me around to all the different studios to bring up their sales, because I loved it. I loved the photography. I loved what I did, and I did a good product. When I was doing my personal training, I had 90% closure rates of getting people to sign up. So because I knew what I did was better than anybody else. And so with the mindset stuff too, it's when I talk to a mom, a parent, dad, it's still a little bit new, but I still know that I can help them. So for me, it's the kind of, it's fun. I like that part because I get to know what's going on so I can better help them going forward. So it's kind of me, that initial, like, why are you doing this? Are you a fit for me? Because that's how I always approached it, is you're not going to be comfortable with everybody. So I know I can help you, but we have to also have a connection. So I've told people, you know what, maybe this isn't the right time, or, maybe we don't connect. Maybe this isn't the right fit. But they end up coming back or telling other people about me because they kind of understand I'm not there to take their money.
Awesome.
So for me, it's that what I was going to ask Stacy was, do you believe that you could help me? And if you can believe that, then everything else becomes kind of a little bit easier. It's again, what Gary said is the mindset of it. I don't look at it as I'm taking people's money and I'm selling them on crap. So that's what I have to say.
Well, and that's the huge foundational piece that has to be in there. Thanks, Jeff. Tara, before you get a customer, what about you? What's the mental block?
I'll unmute you. Hang on.
You're muted.
Go ahead.
Oh, she got one. We lost her. All right, Matt.
Hey, I think for me, it's the fact that it's not fully put together. You know, because I haven't actually nailed down my program, and I know that's absolutely a story. But I also know that it's contributing to a block, because I have no doubt that I can help people. It happens all the time without selling them a program or whatever else. Like I help people in a conversation. And so I know from that aspect that working with people that would continue to happen. But because it's not like laid out for me, like I haven't, they say, well, what does that involve? Right. So I don't have, session 1 will be X, Y, Z. Like some people seem to want a lot of information that, like that's, I don't know, sometimes it's hard to explain because of the process, right? Like, I don't know.
Gary?
Um,
Who's dialing? Somebody?
That's not me. Maybe. I want to hear Tara, and then we'll go back before you get another customer.
Okay. Well, the last probably 3 weeks, I haven't tried to sell anything, or have any lead calls or anything like that. But I actually talked to 8 people yesterday, and have some lead calls set up. So I think just like setting down and like practicing and getting uncomfortable and just getting comfortable, I guess, with all those leading questions, and just building confidence in myself, I guess. Because right now I feel like so. Like it's a bound nature thing where it's like, I don't know, I'm so confused. And that's just a bound nature thing I'm going through right now. Probably the last 3 weeks, I'd say I've struggled with that. The whole, I don't know. And time, I'm really thinking about leaving the post office just because it's not getting me where I want to go, but I'm scared shitless. Too, because I do think I could make more money with my MPA than the 24 hours a week that I'm here. I just gotta have that confidence in myself.
So, to everybody, the premise behind creating this sales system was to give you knowledge and a plan and a system and support and accountability for achieving sales, right? Does that sound familiar? We know that there is a problem out there in terms of how do I get people into my program? And because you don't know you don't have the knowledge, you don't have a system, you don't have the tools, we built it for you. But we built it for you in a way that is simple and easy to follow and just do the work. Boom, boom, boom. And it's there for you to take the leap and use it. Just use it. Just trust in the fact that it works. Trust in the fact that it's a simple process. You just need to practice, 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 practice. And trust in the fact that if you do it and follow directions, you will make money. You will get sales. You will help people. You will be able to spread your goodness out there to more people, which is ultimately, like Matt said, what you want to do. You want to help people. So all we've done by developing this change maker is give you the system and the tools to spread your knowledge and your value to all the people out there. Just follow the directions. That's all it is. Just a system. Like when you go train and you have a system. Like when you eat and you have a system. Right? It's all the same thing. It's just a system that we've created for you.
And I think that, well, Camelia, if you have to run, you just hit stop record, because I don't think I can do that on my end. But the beautiful thing I think about this program, guys, and the people that are teaching and involved in this program are that we get it. We get it. Like, we understand where you are. But one thing that we do learn is that life in itself, right, has shit that happens, right? Where we have sick children, we have something happens to our spouse, we have a job that we don't like, we have all of this stuff that happens, right? And I'm going to be a little bit of a dick really quickly and just say it happens to everyone, and no matter, like, it's life. It's just always going to happen. We still have to have the mindset to be dynamic enough to continue to move forward in exactly what you're doing. You're going to get derailed, obviously, right? But you have the foundation, the mindset practices, the training practices to get you back on the track and the path that you want to go. With that being said, the sales part of it is not a scary part. It doesn't have to be scary at all to any one of us. And we can all have bound nature moments, or moments where, what? Don't type shit if you don't want me to be interrupted, but it's like when someone talks and another person talks on their cell phone. Now I lost my train of thought. But seriously, it all happens, right? It all happens to all of us. But you need to remember that if this is your job and not a hobby, you don't have much of a choice but to make it work, right? And that's just your life, right? Like, we fall off track, but you have to continue to get back on track. There's no more of this thing is happening to me. So like, look in the mirror and say, okay, my God, am I going to be right where I am 12 months from now? Is anything going to change then? So this selling part that we talked to you about, like, look at Changemaker again. Go over it. Even if you don't take notes, literally, like, just listen to it. I go through the slides. I just watch the slides and just run through them every couple of days, because it helps remind me of a lot of stuff. And that literally takes 5 minutes. Y'all are great. And that's why, Camila, you got to run. It's like 12:32. Mm-hmm. This is not a coaching program that is, you fucking guys, like, get up and just power. Like, we care and we understand all of this, because the reality of every one of you, the reality of all of our situations is that the two people up that are on the top of these boxes, I think Camelia is on the top, right here, are same shit happens to us all the time too, right? The same exact stuff, right? So and the same stuff happens to you, but you deal with it in a different part of your life, right? So if something bad happens, your kids, but you're a soccer coach, it derails you from a little bit, but you still get up the next morning and go to work and do what you have to do at work. The same thing we have to do for this, if this is serious.